Hey everyone, this is Alex. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of what we consider the advanced features in our accounting product. So no matter what subscription level you have with Aplos, you've always got the different tabs up here at the top, but specifically within the fund accounting realm, there's a couple of features that are considered advanced accounting, which is an additional cost for your contract or your subscription. So let's take a look at what those are. First one here is in budgeting. So in budgeting, you can budget for different fiscal years. And typically what it looks like is this, to where you have your income and expense accounts listed down here on the left-hand side, and then an open field for you to put that I expect to receive or spend this much within that category. What budgeting by fund allows you to do is do that, but then for each fund that you have in Aplos. So at the top here, you can click the filter by fund dropdown, and you can do unassigned, which then is just like that. It's unassigned. It's not particular to a fund. Or you can pick a fund that you want to budget for. So let's do the event fund. So now that I've picked that, it's again an open field, but now whatever amounts I put in here is budgeted for that account within that particular fund. I can also click on the account itself, and then that would bring me to this screen to where I'm budgeting for that account, but I'm budgeting for that account across all funds at one time. So how this results is if you go to a report, if you do budgeting by fund, now in addition to the budgeting to actual and the comparative budget to actual, you now have budget by fund. To where if I click on that, it's going to give me a page per fund that I'm looking at. You can also filter down to a particular fund if you'd like, and then the actual and the budget figures are going to be filtered to that fund how you budgeted. So a little bit more granular budgeting capability in advanced. The other area here is tags. So again, by default, everybody has custom tags, no matter what. So you always have custom, but with advanced accounting, you gain access to 3 new levels of tag, as well as 990 tags. So let's take a look at these 3 first. By default, these are departments, fundraisers, and projects, but you can change these names to be whatever you'd like. So for instance, if I wanted like ministry to be called, or excuse me, if I wanted department to be ministry, I can change that right there. And now these are my ministry tags. And they work exactly like custom, to where you have the tag group, you have the tag, and then now we have sub tags that you can put as well, to where all of the sub tags roll up into the tag, and then all of the tags roll up into a group. So you can customize that tag category however you'd like. So again, custom tags, but times now 3. A couple of other new options that we just added here, and this is for everybody, but figured I'd mention it since I'm here, is by default, they kind of go to a multiple tag mode, which means if I were to record that I received $10, I can pick as many tags as I want from this category to the same $10. So it's potentially allowing you to kind of mark the same $10 with 2 different tags. Some people want that to be kind of a more 1-for-1 ratio. So if that's the case, then you can pick this option here, which is single tag mode. So now that $10 can only be attached to one particular tag at a time. And to make that even more specific, you can require a tag for this category. So what this would do is if I clicked that box, now when I go enter a transaction, which I'll show you here in a second, it would require me to choose a ministry tag with every income or expense transaction that I record in Aplos. So this is helpful to where if, let's say all money that comes in or out is applicable to a ministry or a tag or a department or a fundraiser or something like that, you can require it so that way you don't enter a transaction that actually needs a tag. So it kind of just helps solidify things there. All right. So back to the advanced stuff. So advanced gives you the 3 new levels of tag here. It also gives you access to 990 tags. 990 tags are those that are going to be used for larger organizations that need to file the full form 990, full form. So not the N, not the easy, but the big boy, the 990, the full form. So what this does is it's showing you all of the revenue and all of the expense categories that you need to report on for the full form 990. So what you do here is each one of these categories, you'd click on it and say, federated campaigns. And then you're going to pick which of your income or expense accounts apply to that category that you just clicked on. So let's say that I have an income account called seed money here, and that seed money is a federated campaign that I want to track. So I'm going to click that box. And so now when I go to record a transaction, typically what it does is it shows you just the full list of all 990 categories. But since I mapped that one account there, I'm going to type in seed money. And because I chose that account, now my choices for a 990 tag is only federated campaigns up here at the top. So it's kind of filtering up the things that you want to be applicable to that account to the very top. So that way you have a little bit more truncated of a choice. So that's the 990 tags. And so what that does then on a report is allows you to go to the 990 income statement reports, which is down here at the bottom. So Form 990 revenue and Form 990 expense, which is going to give you a full list of here's all the totals in each one of those categories for the revenue expense that the 990 requires. So it's essentially like giving you the ability to track two different chart of accounts in one system. One you can kind of have customized to however you want for your internal reporting and how you want to run your organization. And then you have this other 990 category listing that you use in tandem. So it doesn't require you to format your chart of accounts to adhere to the 990, but also makes filing the 990 a lot easier because now every transaction has that tag applied to it. So that is the 990 tag. So some other advanced features here. That's about it for the accounts list. So again, multiple tags now and budgeting by fund. In the transactions area, all of the entry screens are the same, but now you can do reoccurring transactions. So let's say that you have a rent bill that happens every month on the 3rd, and the note is pay rent. So you want this transaction to automatically post for you. You don't want to, be responsible for just kind of entering it every single time. You'd want it to just kind of occur. You can do that for payables, receivables, and transactions. And then you can also add just alerts as well. So some reminders. So you just click the plus button up here. So let's say I wanted to create a new reoccurring transaction, give it a name, give it a schedule, and give it, the detail there. And then enter the details of the transaction and then add. And then based on that schedule, now every week or month on that particular day or option that you've chosen will just automatically post that payable, receivable, or registered transaction. All right. So two other features here. One is fixed assets. Fixed assets is a great tool if your organization needs to track fixed assets. I know that was kind of a lame example, but really what this is doing is you can track fixed assets no matter what in Aplos. You could always keep track of the kind of numeric values of things and keep up with the journal entries and record transactions that do fixed asset tracking. What this screen allows you to do is track your fixed assets in more detail. So let's start with maybe the settings here. So in settings, what you do is you set up your life policies. We set some ones by default here, but you can always add a default policy as well. So let's say, building improvements are 7 years, buildings are 40, vehicles 10, so on and so forth. Then down here, you're picking what accounts apply. So you're picking all of your fixed asset accounts. You're picking your depreciation expense account, your gain and loss accounts. So what this is doing is it's telling Aplos that if you record a transaction in the system that uses sound equipment, then what it's going to do is it's going to flag it and say, hey, you need to create a fixed asset from that. So then I'd go over here and I would create a fixed asset from that purchase transaction. So here you can see I have some different categories: computers, equipment. I've got all of my fixed assets listed here. If I were to click on one, each one has its own ID, its own name, its effective date, its life cycle, all of this different stuff. So it allows you to track in detail what are my fixed assets. How often do they depreciate? What's the depreciation amount? And then if you ever wanted to dispose of it, you can dispose of it here, and then that would post the gain or loss transaction accordingly. And then back in the main screen here, depreciations. Once you have your fixed assets created and set up, then over here in depreciations, what this is doing is it's automatically calculating what your monthly depreciation posting needs to be based on all of your fixed assets that you have recorded in Aplos. So here I'm behind a few months, but let's just say I wanted to post all of these transactions. I'm going to go ahead and just select all of them and click Post Selected Depreciation. And then that goes over to the journal entry screen, posts an entry, and then keeps up with your now depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation based on the fixed assets that you have recorded in the system. The last feature here is allocations. Allocations allows you to create a cost driver based on a fund or a tag that is basically you saying, I want to divvy out a transaction by fund or by tag based on certain criteria. So let's say that I have an administrative allocation here. So what this is doing is I want say any fund that comes in, any transaction, I want to be split between my multi-site fund, my Kamwakya fund, and my general fund. Okay, these are my funds that I want to split things between, and it's about a third. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create that cost driver. I'm going to pick what funds I want to split by. I'm going to pick what distribution I want it to hit, and then when I enter a transaction, let's just go in here. When I pick my fund, instead of picking one of my funds or manually doing a split, I'm instead just going to choose allocate and then post the transaction like normal. So then once I've done that, that puts it into a holding spot in Aplos to where then when I go to allocations, these are all the transactions now that I've recorded to an allocate fund or tag that I then need to allocate out to something else. So let's say that this target transaction applies. So I'm going to click that transaction and I'm going to say, I want to apply my administrative allocation cost driver. So it's saying, here is the split. So here's your cost driver and allocation amount. So what this is going to do is go post an adjusting entry to now distribute that transaction across those funds like so. So then submit. So the original transaction stays the same. So that's always going to have the allocate fund on it. But what the system then does is it goes and posts an additional journal entry to then go split that transaction out across whatever your cost driver is. One of the examples that we typically use for this as well is like, let's say you have multiple buildings, but you in multiple locations, and you get one utilities bill. So you want to be able to kind of distribute that bill across your locations based on square footage. So what you do is you'd come in here and click plus, and I want to do a custom, let's just do fund and say square footage. And I'm going to pick my hospital, and that square footage is 58,264 square feet. And then I'm going to add another one and call it my orphan site, and that square footage is 15,000. And so what it's doing is it's calculating what the percentage is based on what kind of parameters you're putting in here. Let's do one more. We'll just do the playroom. The playroom is 400 square feet. So what it's doing is it's putting all of that in there. So it's distributing all of the totals among that like so. And then you click save. And then that will now create that cost driver. So now when that cost driver gets applied, it's going to distribute that amount across that split however you needed it to. So that is allocations. So again, advanced features here, we've got a couple different things. One is multiple layers of tag. So now you can have 3 or 4 different categories of tag, as well as the 990 tags. You can also budget by fund. You can set up reoccurring transactions and then track your fixed assets in more detail by having the fixed assets module here. And then you have allocations to automatically distribute amounts across your funds or tags based on cost drivers that you set up, saving you time on transaction entry so that you don't have to split every transaction manually. All right. So if you have any questions, let us know. Again, this is our advanced features for our accounting product. Our sales team is happy to answer any questions that you have. So if you have them, just contact sales@aplos.com or give us a call at 1-888-274-1316, and we'll be happy to help. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.